Japan this week for the ninth Tokyo International Conference on African Development, or TICAD 9. Now, the summit brings together African heads of state, international partners, and global development institutions to focus on strategies for peace, economic growth, and social progress across the continent. And this is all coming under the theme Co-Creating Innovative Solutions with Africa. Delegates are examining new avenues for collaboration, innovation, and sustainable development. Well, joining us from Yokohama is Neville Matjie, who's the CEO of Brand South Africa, to share a little bit more on the conference and South Africa's role in it. Neville, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
So, what's
And good
your
morning to the listeners and the viewers.
fantastic? So, what's your overall take on this year's TCAD 9? What's standing out for you so far this week?
Very, very positive. The Japanese market has been very open. As you know, the president led the delegation to Japan to come and engage with the Japanese government, as well as engage with Japanese companies. We've had a packed program of meetings over and above, of course, the ones that are led by His Excellency the President. We've also had side meetings engaging with a number of Japanese companies that are wanting to invest in South Africa. But the main theme really driven by the mission and what the president set as a tone for us was really to drive exports, to look at alternative markets for our South African products, particularly agricultural products. So there's been a number of engagements with the Japanese community, specifically focusing on that. One of the areas that we've engaged with them on was really how they can ensure that they assist our companies to become compliant with their requirements to export agricultural products into Japan. That is very, very critical for us because, as you know, agricultural products are very sensitive products, and it's important that compliance is at the top of the list. But they have to help us as well in understanding their compliance regime so that we can get our products into the Japanese market. But overall, very, very informative. And the other sector is also science and technology, because Japan is driving that sector quite aggressively, and seeing how we can engage and partner with Japan in terms of science and technology. That has also been at the top of the list, engaging with a number of their trailblazer companies that are in that sector.
So I think you've painted a very clear picture why this gathering is really important for South Africa. But it is an Africa-Japan relations event. And with so many heads of state, one has to believe then it's really, really important. Why is this so important for our continent?
It's critical for our continent. And of course, there are other heads of state that are here. What Japan is doing is also embracing the opportunity to further expand its reach into the African continent. And as you would understand, we as South Africa have had a long-standing relationship with Japan. A number of the Japanese brands that are in South Africa, over 260 companies from Japan that are in South Africa that are doing business with South Africa. If you're looking at our trade balance, of course, positive on our side. But Japan is looking at how they can utilize, particularly us as South Africa, as a springboard into the continent. They have access to other markets within the continent, but South Africa offers predictability in terms of our economy, predictability in terms of political support, and clear understanding in terms of our banking and our financial sector, which really resonates quite well with the Japanese government and Japanese companies. So a number of these companies that we've been engaging with are looking at that as a big plus to use South Africa as a conduit really to get into the African continent. Further expansions are also being looked at by numerous companies. I can't mention all of them, but most of the big ones, they are looking at how they can further expand their operations in South Africa. and also ensuring that they continue to reinvest in other sectors. Toyota is looking at other opportunities, Hitachi, Mitsui, etc. So all these companies are looking at how they can further expand their reach within South Africa.
So, with Japan launching new investment vehicles and concessional funding, what opportunities are emerging, do you think, for South African businesses or sectors?
Yeah, so the automotive sector is a very important sector for Japan. Of course, that's our biggest exports within our relations with Japan, over 600,000 vehicles, and in terms of total trade for South Africa into Africa. But within that, of course, Japanese cars occupying the lion's share. In terms of their partnership with South Africa, they're looking obviously at how they can continue to look at advancing first, second, and third tier suppliers into the sector. But in particular, those suppliers looking at components going into and servicing the rest of their markets within the continent. That is how they are basically viewing, particularly on the automotive side, how they're able to utilize their manufacturing reach within South Africa to advance themselves. You look at the likes of Hestro Harnesses, Smith Manufacturing, etc. So those are some of the companies that we were engaging with, of course, under the broader scope of the Japanese brand.
I suppose this year is quite an important year, especially for South Africa, G20 year. How does this fit in, this particular TICAD 9, with our G20 story?
A very good question. So part of the deliberations, of course, we had the political deliberations driven by the president, the ministers who are here. But what is also good is Minister Lamola was here as well, including the Sous Sherpa, Ambassador Mabongo, who is predominantly focusing on the G20 work. As part of the business delegation, we have the B20 Sherpa, Cascovadia is here, together with Dr. Anthony Costa, who are driving the B20 program. We had a session specifically focusing on South Africa and the marketing of South Africa, where we also outlined the principles under G20 as well as the principles under B20 for the Japanese companies to participate. There was an extension to an invitation to the Japanese companies to participate, particularly at the B20 summit, which is driven, of course, by the business side. And then the G20 component of the program, which is predominantly driven by government, the protocols there have obviously been observed as well. Over and above that, the president also invited the Japanese companies to participate at the South African Investment Conference that's taking place next year. And with a reach as using the G20 and the B20 summits as an anchor, where they can come through, have engage with the companies, and then utilize the SA Investment Conference, which will take place next year, as the date of announcing the projects that they would have already been engaging on between now and the time the investment conference takes place in March next year.
Neville, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much indeed for that update. Always great talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and good to see you again.
Fantastic. That's Neville Matjie, who's the CEO of Brand South Africa, joining us from Yokohama in Japan. And this has been the venue this week for the 9th edition of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development.
Channel